What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show are the Detroit Lions in trouble. They got some big-time news around their offensive line that is definitely concerning for that ball club over there in Detroit. And we're also just going to talk about the NFC North. Is it up for grabs? I think it's a lot more wide open than even us Vikings fans think it is. But the big-time news around the Detroit Lions, Frank Ragnow, their center, is calling it a career at 29 years old. And, there is no doubt this is a major blow for the Detroit Lions. Like, this is your center, a key position on the offensive line. He was the one that was helping Jared Goff set the protections on every single play. And, with already them losing Zeitler this offseason, like, this offensive line is going to look totally different from a unit where it was either them or the Eagles who had the best offensive line in the league in 2024. But you lose Ragnow, you lose Zeitler. You're putting a lot of pressure on some of these rookies out there. Maybe they, go in and bring another guy to compete for that job. But, Penei Sewell, still think he's the best offensive lineman in the league, and nothing but, respect for him. I mean, the battles him and Van Ginkel and Grenard had last season were unreal. But Taylor Decker getting up there in age, like the 2025 Lions offensive line is not going to be nearly as dominant as they were in 2024. And I think their old line is going to have a big regression. Where I always felt like when the Vikes were playing the Lions, like no matter what you did, you could just not slow down that run game. And, that was also a little bit of Ben Johnson having Flores' number a little bit. He always used to be able to out-scheme him. Now, will he be able to do that in Chicago with not the offensive line that he had in Detroit? We'll see about that. But that interior offensive line has a lot of question marks for 2025. And also, if you guys did not know, Jonathan Allen in the divisional round last year against the Lions, he had a monster game for the Washington Commanders. So hopefully he'll have some more success against this new version of the offensive line for Detroit. But they're already making moves. This came out earlier today. They're signing veteran offensive lineman Trystan Colon to a one-year deal. He used to play with the Ravens and the Cardinals, and he has some experience playing interior offensive line at both the guard and the center spot. But this was a clear move after the retirement of Frank Ragnow, and, it's definitely a brutal blow. Like, I almost want to feel bad for Lions fans that this decision came after the draft, after free agency, but they also made a couple of interesting draft picks where maybe they were trying to get some insurance just in case if, they thought this was a possibility. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But speaking about the NFC North, I think it's wide open. And if you guys want the Vikes to win the NFC North this upcoming season for the first time since 2022, they already have one crown under Kevin O'Connell. Hit that thumbs up icon. Put today's goal as 450 likes. So if you guys could help us out here, help us get this video out to more and more Vikings fans, hit that thumbs up button. Now, more on the Lions here. Reports are coming out of OTAs that rookie Tate Ratledge is getting starting center reps at OTAs. So maybe they're viewing Ratledge as the answer for their center position after Ragnow retirement. I will say this guy's got a sweet mullet. He looks like a mauler at the offensive line just off his profile pic right there. But still, that's a massive change for Detroit. To potentially go from a reliable veteran in Ragnow, one of the best centers in the league last season. He had an unreal year, and he also had, he was always a guy that was playing through injuries and all that. He brought a sense of swagger to that offensive line. But to turn that over to a guy like Tate Ratledge, who didn't play center in college, is definitely going to be a challenge because you got to get familiar with your guards. You got to get familiar with Jared Goff. And I just think that could cause issues, maybe not at the end of the season for Detroit. They'll probably get that worked out, but for sure in the beginning of the season. And I just think the Lions over the last 6 months, it's been tough, man. They had obviously that brutal loss to the Washington Commanders. And then you start, losing some coordinators, and, they lost also 6 more assistants. I understand they had a lot of injuries last season on the defensive side of the ball, and, Lions fans are probably saying, once we get those guys back, we'll be all right on that side. But still, a blowout loss at home to the Commanders. You lost Ben Johnson to your division rival in the Chicago Bears. And I know everybody is freaking out about, losing Ben Johnson, but I also think them losing Aaron Glenn to the New York Jets might be just as big of a loss as Benny J was going to Chicago. Also lost 6 more assistants. Tanner Engstrad, their quarterback coach, went to the New York Jets to be the offensive coordinator. And they also lost 4 starters from 2024. And these are the guys like Carlton Davis. He went to New England. Zadarius Smith, still a free agent out there. Kevin Zeitler, he went to the Tennessee Titans. And then you just lost Frank Ragnow to retirement. Like, there is no doubt the Lions have had a rough past couple of months here. And, I think the culture that, Dan Campbell has instilled, they should be able to overcome it. But the one big question I'm having is, how good are Jared Goff and Dan Campbell? And I think we're going to find that out. Like, were they very successful the last couple of years because of a support system around the head coach and the quarterback, where you had an elite offensive coordinator, you had an elite defensive coordinator, a great offensive line to help Jared Goff in a great run game, and the team I can't get out of my head for the Detroit Lions on who they could be? What about the 2023 Eagles? So in 2022, the Eagles made the Super Bowl. 2022-23, Eagles made the Super Bowl, lost to Kansas City Chiefs. That offseason, they lost both coordinators. Gannon went to the Arizona Cardinals. Steichen went to the Indianapolis Colts. And then we saw them, even though they started off the year hot, they were still an 11-6 football team, but they lost first round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I could see that being the case for the Lions, where they'll still probably win 10, 11 games, just how stacked their team is. But will they be able to go on a deep playoff run again? I'm not sure. So I think they could be just a different version of that Eagles team after they lost both coordinators. But I'll ask you guys this: the best division in football. I think it means something to win the NFC North title. I think it's one of the best, accomplishments you can have as an NFL team. But you guys let me know who you got winning the North. Give me an MIN for the Vikes. Give me a DET for the Lions. Give me a GB for the Packers. And give me a CHI for the Chicago Bears. Predict it for me down below in the comments section. Who you got winning the NFC North next season? Let me know your thoughts down below. Would appreciate you guys to chime in on today's show. But obviously, I'm going to take the Vikes winning the division here. But we'll talk about the Vikings and their chances to win the NFC North here in a second. But before we do so, I got to give a massive shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, if you guys head over to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off and use code VikingsChat50off, you guys will get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code VikingsChat50off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Now, summer is here, which means more sun, more light, and more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing you don't want to be doing all summer, spending hours cooking inside. That's where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. And Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle over summer and beyond. Now, obviously here covering the Minnesota Vikings, we got a lot of long days here at the office where sometimes we get out at around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and I don't always feel like making a home-cooked meal. That's where Factors came in and has completely changed my life. I love the blackened salmon you guys see up on screen right now, or the Texas cheddar burger is another fantastic option. So if you guys want to get started, head over to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off and use code VikingsChat50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code VikingsChat50off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Head over to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off. Now, I will say on the NFC North, it feels wide open right now. Honestly, I think this recent news to the Lions, and the Lions were definitely the team that gave the Vikings the most troubles over the last couple of seasons. But just right now, the North, I'm not a believer in the Bears, but if a Bears fan told me they think they're winning the division, I could hear them out. Same with the Packers and obviously the Vikings and even the Lions. If Lions fans are saying, yeah, we're going to three-peat the division, they have every right to say that. And I was looking at the odds according to Draftkings on who can win that, or for who will win the NFC North title next season. It's all about even. Obviously the Lions still get the top notch at plus 140, Packers plus 260, Vikings plus 400, and the Bears at plus 425. And that's actually the lowest odds for a fourth-place team. Just want to double-check this real quick. But I was looking this up earlier. I'm pretty sure the Bears, even though, they have the closest odds out of any fourth-place team to win the division. Actually, the Cardinals in the NFC West are plus 475. But why not the Vikes? Why can't the Vikings win the North this season? And we'll break this down. I think they got the best coaching staff in the division. I think they got the best combination of an offensive-minded head coach and a defensive coordinator just on both sides of the ball. Like, think about every single week as an NFL team. You got to go against Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. Like, that's a tough matchup. And I also think top to bottom now, I think they got the best roster. Like, if you're looking at all 53 guys, and I know everybody likes to harp on the quarterback position with the Vikings, but still, I still think the Bears have a question mark there. Even the Lions, I know Jared Goff's a fine quarterback, top 12 guy in the league, but you take away that offensive line, you take away that run game, we'll see how good he is. But still, just in terms of the roster for the Vikings, I think it's the best in the NFC North. And now with after the news to Frank Ragnow, I think the Vikes got the best offensive line in the division. You go Christian Darrisaw, Donovan Jackson, first-round pick, Ryan Kelly, a solid veteran, Will Fries, and then Brian O'Neill. That's the best five-man offensive line, in my opinion, honestly by a wide margin in the NFC North. So you got the best coaching staff. I think you got the best roster. I think you got the best offensive line. And then also the continuity with this group. Like, you got the same head coach. You got the same defensive coordinator. I know you have a new offensive line, but I also love that Ryan Kelly and Will Fries played with each other the last 3 years in Indianapolis. So hopefully that's a seamless transition. And even just these big-time defenders on defense, like another year of Metellus in the system, another year of Van Ginkel, Grenard, Cashman, like those guys, that was their first year last year besides Metellus. Hopefully just another year learning the system, understanding the playbook a little more. Hopefully that leads to more success next season. And then also the rest of the division has issues. Like, I love when people are talking about the NFC North, it's always J.J. McCarthy's a big question. Can, the Vikings take that next step with McCarthy? Well, the other teams in the division, they got problems too. Can the Lions overcome these coaching exits of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? I think they have a chance to, but it's not, an easy thing to overcome. And then obviously the biggest question mark with the Vikings, really the only question mark besides the secondary, is J.J. McCarthy ready? We all know he is, but other teams don't know he is. Other NFL media members don't know he is. And then another concern with with the Packers, can Jordan Love take that next step? I think Jordan Love, with the way the Packers roster is set up, he needs to be a top 10 guy for them to be successful. We'll see if he is. I still got question marks. And then with the Bears, Caleb Williams, will he have a year 2 breakout? We'll see. But also, another concern with the Bears, I want to see if Ben Johnson's ready to be a head coach, not just an offensive coordinator. Because you think about all these issues that NFL teams have. Like, I'll take the Vikings, for example. Last offseason, Jordan Addison had that DUI. Obviously a terrible situation for him. But who has to deal with that? That's Kevin O'Connell. That's the head coach. He's got to deal with that. Where in the past, where if like a Lions player had an issue, like Jamison Williams with the suspensions, that wasn't on Ben Johnson. That was on Dan Campbell. So, like, let's just say a Bears player, there's some drama, or like, let's just say Luther Burden's complaining about not getting enough targets. It's going straight to the head coach. Or if a guy on the defensive line, let's just say he has some off-the-field issues. That's another thing that Ben Johnson's going to have to, just handle and manage, where he can't spend every day of the week, every second in his offense just focusing on that side of the football. You are a full football coach, which is always why so much respect for Kevin O'Connell, because he's not just, the play caller, where he's not just like a guy like Kellen Moore with the Saints, where I don't know if he's the best culture guy, but like Kevin O'Connell, he's got the perfect combination of being a leader of men, being an elite offensive mind, and that's why he's a top 5 coach, and he won Coach of the Year last year for a reason. But speaking about the NFC North, if you guys want the Vikes to win the division next season, hit me with a skull down below in the comment section. I can't wait. Sunday night against the Falcons, week 2. They have that Gallahorn blow. That's actually a question I should probably ask you guys soon, is who should blow the Gallahorn week 2 for the home opener? I think it should be Jamie Erdahl. When she did it I think it was week 8 or 9 against the Colts. The Vikings won 9 games in a row after that. Maybe if Jamie wants to get involved with that would be awesome. But hey, if you guys want the Vikes to win the North, give me a skull down below. And we will see you guys next time. As always, Skull Vikes.